Welcome back to another Human First AI Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or avenue9.com. My guest this week is Greg Wasserman, a relationship broker. We're going to find out what that means, but we're also going to talk about how time and relationships are changing in a world with AI. Greg, welcome to the show. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with time and relationships.
So thanks for having me, everyone. It's great to be here. I've always been the kid since I was a child, right? Where I had friends with everyone. Maybe it's the people pleaser in me and call it my mother and that influence in that regards, but also like human connection has always been a big piece. And so I played sports, was semi-intelligent, and I just love talking to people. I'm just a ball of energy. So for me, it was always just like connections. And you think about like when you're growing up, how you become friends with most of the friends that you grow up, right? Like it's your neighborhood, your proximity, but also then for me, it was a lot of sports. And so I was looking at from friends and connections going like, hold on, I'm playing Magic cards only because one best friend loves that. And I'm doing this with another. And I'm like, you guys, we should all like just become friends. So it's really just been from a early age belief that like we all have something in common. There are all ways that we can find I like a person or I don't. Like we may not have to agree on political things, whatever it may be, but like we're at the end of the day, we're on this planet for a short period of time. We're all human. There's a connection there. And so for me, it's just evolved as I've gotten older to realize I spent majority of my career in sales and revenue, right? So when you're in sales, I got to call on people, you get to talk to people, but at the end, you start realizing companies are hiring you for your Rolodex. Company are hiring you to go out there and do things. Well, great. So if you start understanding that, Mike, as you know, you've left your company. You were there for a long time, but like most people don't stay at their companies for our parents' age, where it's 40 years, you get the Rolex and you're gone, whatever it is, right? So for me, it was always a matter of understanding, hey, Mike, I may not offer you the right solution that you're looking for, but we can still have a good connection. And we know that our careers will take us wherever they may be. And so that's kind of where the whole life is about time and relationships has come from.
Yeah, I like that. And we should also probably tell people that in your biz dev time, you also spent some time in AI and SaaS. So we'll get into that too. But you do have a unique perspective on this because I think you understand the power of AI like I do, but still feel like the value is the human first and the people first and the relationships first. And the AI, if it's enabling those, in my opinion, is a great tool to have. And it's awesome to save myself time so I can maybe spend more time in those relationships. And I think that it's a fascinating time because I think we're definitely going to see AI ruin some relationships and communication, but we can also see it enable some that we never have before. What's your take?
I feel automation. I mean, look, we've always looked at how do we automate, and outbound marketing or trying to drive people in the funnel of marketing. Like it's been there for ages, and I think we are all getting smarter especially with AI right now. Going like, that was written. Like one of my favorite is, I used to start all emails. Hope you're doing well. Well, we can't do that anymore because you go to ChatGPT and everything is like, I hope you're doing well. And because that's how we talk. And it's like, now everyone's like, this was written in ChatGPT. It's like, man, but like, that's what I literally did. So now we have to start getting better and connecting on that. Right. But like, I truly believe that relationships will be the key because there's programs out there now that are trying to use AI to match people, going like, hey, you want to talk to certain people? Great, we can match you and we'll just have the AI do it all there. And the more it knows, the more it's able to match you. And it's great. I've got the automation, but like nothing really beats going like, fine, if Mike and I got connected over automation, I'm still the kind of person, and that's just who I am in relationships, going like, oh, Mike, instead of you going and getting matched with another person, I got someone that's probably going to be a good fit for you. AI is not going to be able to replicate that. Plus, having a warm intro from me who just spent a half hour talking to you is probably going to be a better use of your time and connection and open warmth than automation from whatever software it is. So yes, connection will
Well, I think
continue
that's
to
a
be.
big point. Number one, AI kind of knows all of human knowledge at this point, but it doesn't have the human context and filter for that knowledge that we know kind of our Rolodex, our their personalities, what people are trying to accomplish and can make better decisions on the introductions. But the one thing that you said there that I think is even more important is the personal introduction and vouching for them and kind of being a filter. So when I taught sales for the last 14 years, a lead is nice. People think an inbound lead is the holy grail of sales. It's not, because an inbound lead is only qualified by that person. A lot of people without money or decision making power can fill out your lead form on the website, right? But referral is great if somebody else says, "Hey, Greg, you should talk to Susie because she's got a thing." But a warm introduction where the person knows both parties and Susie opts in too. Now we're talking about both sides being qualified and verified by an objective third party human. We're talking about like an 80% chance of closing. That the power of the relationships is not just the automation and the speed at which it makes the introduction, but the quality of that relationship and the introduction as well.
I mean, we'll just go basic here. What is the best form of marketing? Word of mouth, right? So if word of mouth is the best form of marketing, I don't think AI is going to come in here and change all of a sudden word of mouth becomes lower on the totem pole. No, it's this is also why influencer is growing as a medium. It's like, all right, people want to buy from people they know, like, and trust. I feel like I know this influencer, I know this person. So the human connection is still there. We also are in an endemic of loneliness. So if we are in this place of like loneliness, the only thing that's going to help us is human connection. Like, we are literally wired for human connection. And if I'm using that specifically wired, like, AI is not wired for human connection as best as it can and get there. And we will talk later about what AI movies we think is our future potential. But like, we still need that human connection. We desire that. And a warm lead is ultimately going to come from human to human interaction.
Yeah, I think there are some powerful things we can do with AI, particularly around the communication and community building, which I know is another thing of yours. We were both on the Pod Profits Summit a while back and enjoy podcast guesting and hosting and stuff. And you were at Cast Magic, where I think if we can create value with AI or we can collect information, we can become curators of relationships, but also other people's knowledge too. So just because the knowledge exists out in AI doesn't mean that it's relevant at this time, or that we know which one is better than the other, because AI isn't running your business. AI isn't trying to make your sales calls. And so it's not really paying attention to what the best introduction is for you. But if you have that influencer and that thought leader that's maybe the podcast host who's curating smart people and introducing them to you, that's, to me, is way more powerful than Perplexity recommended these top 10 results. Is that fair?
100%. Yeah, totally would agree with that, right? I mean, how am I a guest on your show? It came through human interaction, right? So I'm sure someone could go ahead and type in and say, what are the top AI podcasts that I should be guesting on? And your show hopefully comes up in that list. And then you'll start getting an influx of people going like, hey, I would love to be on your show. And you're like, oh, how'd you hear about my show? Do you know anything about it? No, it was just AI. It's like, but like, the human interaction is going to be the key piece of why a person comes on your show. How then I'm like, oh, I'm going to recommend other people you should go on Mike's show because I know who you're looking for, what kind of value you're trying to bring to an audience. Like, that ultimately is going to save you so much more time than like reading emails. And as you talked about, sales alone, so many sales reps are reaching out, so many messages are bombarding you. The ones that you're going to respond to are the persons that you know. And so if Greg's sending an intro to you, and that's why I'm a relationship broker, like, all I want to do is be able to go like, hey, How do I connect good people, whether it's good people connecting to good people and who knows where that conversation goes, or I see there's a there because I'm a partnership revenue person. I'm like, oh, there's got to be a connection here. You guys should be talking. Business can be done. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I love that we're practicing what we preach because we got introduced by Dustin, a mutual friend there, Dustin Reichman, at Seven Figure Leap, and he was also on the podcast here. So if people are regular subscribers, they would know who he is. But I think you both met or got introduced through Cast Magic. And I want you to talk a little bit about this because I find it fascinating that we can do the human part of recording this podcast together, but then all of the other stuff that happens after that isn't really human first in my opinion. It's not the magic of the interaction. We've already had the magic, so now we need some AI magic to amplify that. Can you tell me more about how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's true that I remember when the founders from Cast Magic approached me and they showed me the tool. I'm like, this is what I've been trying to get podcasters to do because so many people in the podcast space are so focused on a listen or a watch now, if we look at it that way. I'm like, but at the end of the day, all you're looking for is the attention and the audience to know, like, and trust you. So if a person's going ahead and downloading and listening to your podcast or they're watching it, your mindset is all around just sponsorships. But if you could build a community, and that's what I love about tools like a Cast Magic or the AI that's now like, great, Mike, I know that this is a core piece of your business. How do I take some of this off your plate so we can automate those things? There's still that human element. A, you have to train the AI to cut it or write it in the way that you want it. And then B, there's always going to be that human element. You can get it to 90% of the way. I've seen people get it to 95, but like you still got to check it. It's still not going to be perfect. So but the way I always look at it, if I can get 50 pieces of content done and I have to review 50 pieces of content instead of writing, I mean, that was the biggest lift that AI came to the podcast space is most podcasters weren't doing a good job with so many things because I don't get the time. You want me to write a blog? I'm like, hold on, I just spent a hour recording this, then an hour editing it, and now you want me to write something? I don't have the time to do that. Now you can get AI to go, hey, great, take this podcast, create the article for you, and now you just edit it. It's huge. It's been a great lift. And that I think is a great thing for the industry.
Yeah. And for me, I do think it's still in the best interest of our prospects and listeners and stuff. Even if AI creates these other assets from the podcast, like you said, a blog, social media posts, email blasts, whatever we want, transcripts and things as well, because I think as humans, it costs a lot of time, effort, and energy to create these other channels. And we just don't have time anymore. There's so many channels, and I don't know what your thing is. Maybe you like listening to the whole 20-minute podcast and you are listen to them when you're working out and you're on the treadmill. And so you can't watch visuals or you can't take notes and read. You're bouncing too much. You need to just have an audio podcast. Great. We've got that for you. If that's too boring for you and you're looking for 1-minute YouTube shorts or TikTok videos, AI can chop up this interview into a bunch of 1-minute clips for you to get the gist of those things much faster and do it while you're, waiting in line or something else, if that's your job. Other people love to read. I don't know about you, but I can read faster than I can listen to a podcast. So I can skim a blog post really quick, get the highlights. I can search a transcript and find a part where they were talking about what I wanted to hear or other things. It all of a sudden creates these different avenues for people to access the information we were trying to get to them in the first place. And it's not that anybody should watch all of them or that we're trying to trick people into anything. It's just making that magic that we collected together accessible in all of the other formats that people want. And I think that's really, really cool.
I mean, look, your sales background, but also on the education side of things, right? You're teaching. Like, I always go back to school in this regard, where it's like each person learns and consumes content differently. So if you are forcing a person to an all or nothing, you're going to lose people. So if I'm forcing you, you can only listen to this podcast. Mike, I would love to support you. I don't got 40 minutes to listen to this. You're never going to get me, but I
Right.
can go, hey, Greg, it's okay. You don't have to listen. I got the highlights, I got the bullet points, whatever you need. I send out a newsletter, send that every week. Takes you 3 minutes to read. You got 3 minutes for me, right? Person does, like, yes. And if you want to go, great, you can listen. It's like now you're able to reach a person however they want to. And I think that's where the power of AI is. We've got content overload, but now you can start truly reaching people the way they want to consume content. And that is a huge lift that AI is helping us with.
All right. Now, my last AI question for you, and this will get us into our predicting the future half of the episode here, is I think, in my opinion, we've reached sort of peak advertisement, peak algorithm kind of. We've definitely passed peak SEO at this point, but I think the traditional advertising method or like spam, we had to have reached peak spam at this point too, because Apple's already releasing new spam filters. If everybody has access to AI to create, LinkedIn DMs, like it's just going to get filled. We're terrible as salespeople and marketers of ruining any channel that actually works. So I don't know about you. I don't see a way out of it other than circling back to the humanity of like who we actually know and going back to like hand to hand combat. Because I don't see a mass media way, like a new channel that is going to solve our problem here. If everybody has access to AI to instantly spam whatever new channel pops up. What are your thoughts?
I mean, part of it is also a budget, right? So those that have the money are able to go faster, are able to do more. So take a startup, right? And how they're able to invest in some of the tools that are allowing them to do all these things, they're going to have to get creative. But a company, I mean, I don't know about you, but watching these Salesforce commercials with Matthew McConaughey, it's like, oh, they're clever, but like Salesforce has millions of dollars to put not only to a Matthew McConaughey as an ad, but also to now they're hiring 1,000 reps just to handle their AI agent to reach.
Yeah.
My God, I'm overwhelmed just thinking about what they're going to be doing there versus the small company that's trying to compete. So, yeah, at the end of the day, if budgets and resources are there, what does it come down to? Human connection. End of the day, how do you empower your customers and build those loyal customers instead of having your marketing spend all these DMs or hey, 150 LinkedIn connections? Now it becomes community. Now it becomes connections. Now it actually becomes events. We once again, you and I met
Yeah.
over a virtual event and we're speakers for that. But like he brought us all together and it's like, hey, you guys are all speakers. How often do you see virtual events or in-person events actually take the time to go and say, besides a back room and go like, hey, here's the speakers area. They're never doing anything there to bring those people together and going like, hey, you guys are speakers. No, they're just assuming, well, because you guys are speakers, you'll talk. Well, the person who's going to win in that is the extrovert, but some speakers are introverts. So what are we doing to ultimately break
Yeah.
that? So I think we've got to do a better job, which goes back to relationships, where it's like, how do you bring people together? How do we understand that? Because AI is not going to be the answer in that regard.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You said one thing that triggered me, which I found out in radio, is that like most performers are introverts. If they were extroverts, they would be out in the crowd. But introverts are by themselves on a stage, or they're in a room doing a podcast, not out at a networking event, right? Which I think is funny. But your lesson about that too, I think, is really important for our own clients. As we decide on our new sales and marketing strategies of the future, we have to decide like, how can we get more referrals? How can we build a community around our things? How can we invest the time and our human capital in building relationships and trust, and not in, it's no longer about content. For me, it's no longer about information. We have all of the information, or even having the right answers. For me, especially as a marketing consultant here, the questions that I ask and the questions I can put in prompts I can put into GPT are more important than the answers I get out of it, or the answers that I could give my clients, because we can all get answers to the questions really fast now. So it's fascinating. How do you see it all shaking out? If you predicted sales and marketing in 2030, say 5 years from now, what do you think it looks like? What's working, what's not working, or what's changed?
I hate to say it, but we're still going to have a lot of the same stuff, right? So, uh,
Mm.
LinkedIn, Microsoft still hasn't figured out how to make it a better platform in that regard. So, they're going all in on video, and that's the big thing with everyone else, right? We're seeing that video is this. Once again, we're having this video conversation. I still see all the AI tools. I see consolidation because there's a lot of commodity. Um, but you've got 8 billion people, and podcasting itself is barely penetrated most of the market. This was the first year, it was like an election. Those of you in the States, like it was an election year that podcasting became. Now the White House is saying we're going to allow influencers in here. So like that's changed in that regard. So once again, it's dissemination of information, but like from a marketing standpoint, influencers will continue to be a big piece. And why is influencer marketing a big piece? Because it's know, like, and trust. We also can go down the look at companies. Tell me you know who the founder of the top three, the CEOs for the top three US automakers are. You couldn't tell me them. But I guarantee you could tell me a automaker, owner of an automaker, right?
One, at least one.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because he's built a brand and people know him associated with that. So you're seeing this from an influencer standpoint. People want to build and work with know, like, and trust. It's all about human connection. So brands can go ahead and spend all this time and building and building, building, but their employees are ultimately the key influencers for the company that are advocates that have a brand of themselves. And that's why people are buying from them or working with them. They're like, I like this company because of the customer service. Well, who's the customer service? It's not an auto bot. It's not answering that. It's the hand to hand. And I see that all the time. Companies I consult with, they're like, we win in customer service because we actually have a person there. Yes, we've automated a bunch of stuff, but like it's a human connection. The companies I'm consulting with, they're bringing me in because they want that human connection. They're like, we are missing out on talking to our customers. We've automated so much stuff, but you miss out on that half an hour conversation that takes your company to a completely different level.
Let me ask you about the influencer plan and maybe get some free consulting here. So 2 minutes or less. We won't make you do your whole job for free. But I find influencers fascinating because there are some industries that are really great at it. I grew up in radio in my 20s where they want to make the biggest spectacle out of their personalities because it's a personality driven medium, right? You can listen to music anywhere, but the reason you listen to the radio is because you got funny jokes in between or local weather and other stuff like that that brings it to life for you. And when they have a morning show, they go, you got to listen to, Bob and Tom every Sunday morning. We're the home of Bob and Tom. They're the biggest, funniest, most impressive morning show in the city. And then if Bob and Tom leave, they don't care. They just switch to whatever the next one is. So now it's, Rocket and Teresa. And so they still build them up as like, this is the brand new show, better than Bob and Tom. And they just switch. And you see that with the NFL and other huge brands where they get it and they go, you know what? Somebody's winning the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has been the face of the NFL for the last 7 years, but if we want to use Jalen Hurts, doesn't matter. Swap them out. Like we got to have a face up there. But I see a lot of other brands and other industries getting really nervous about this, that we don't want Mike or Greg to be the face of our brand because they're not under contract. And if they leave, like they're going to take their relationships with them, or it's got to be the CEO and the CEO is too busy, or he's just not great at, PR and influencing, and they don't really know how to do an influencer program. So I think I took 2 minutes to ask the question, but my question for you is, as maybe a smaller or medium-sized business, how do we think about building influencers or credibility with humans? And should we be worried about what happens when they leave? Like, who do we pick for this role?
If you accept that nothing's finite, right? So it goes back to the whole thing of life is about time and relationships. I knew that I was not going to be with the company I was going to be with for my entire career. It was just something we knew from our generation standpoint versus our parents, right? So if companies can start understanding that and going like, we hired this person, which technically the way companies are treating us now is like, I'm going to use and abuse you, get whatever I can, and know you're going to be gone in 18 months because whatever it is. But instead, we should start treating a person and our employees with better cares and that they want to stay, so they build this better brand and that they have a reason. But like, that's a completely different topic that's broken in itself. But like, from an influencer standpoint, to your question, it's like, yes, we all are influencers. We all are relationships. We will take those relationships with us. We like, accept that no matter how much you want to put in a contract. I'm in California, so like you can't do that. You can't put in a contract saying like,
There's no non-competes. You can
right?
never do
Exactly.
anything in this industry ever again. Yeah.
But like that's just good for business. You accept the fact that that's going to happen. That all right, well, we had Patrick Mahomes, and now we're going to have Jalen Hurts. Like, you guys, that is who it is. To your radio piece, the listener's still going to engage, but it may be like, like I'm in LA. Kevin and Bean, when Kevin and Bean left K Rock, like that was a huge thing. They've been together for ages. All of a sudden, it's no Kevin and Bean. It's like, all right, what's the next one? Do I connect with them? And is that who I'm going to be? That's just human connection. You can't be everything for everyone. You know that you're going to
Yeah.
have to go and find someone that brings someone in, but like that's just the way it is.
I do think you can think about it like finding a quarterback a little bit here. That sure, we want a rock star, but we're not going to pass on a rock star because they might leave. And we might have to use the franchise tag, or we might have to pay them a lot to stay. If they're that valuable, that's okay. They deserve it. But also, I think when that person does leave, you got to find the next man up. Like, can we replace them? Can we find somebody with different skill sets? Can we find somebody that's a better fit for our fans or our team or our style of business and play? And so I think there's a lot of options there. You're right. I think
It's
people get
evolution.
stuck that
Like,
they want guarantees, and that's not really the way life works and the way human relationships work, right?
it's not Tommy Boy. I could slap a guarantee on a box, right? But wouldn't you rather? I won't finish the stage, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's
you
great.
want the
Okay.
guarantee.
So I think the AI world is going to be fascinating in this regard too, because you mentioned, nothing's forever. The jobs we're going to have. Recent studies say that like kids graduating college now will have somewhere between 7 and 9 jobs in there throughout the rest of their life, and half of them have not even been invented yet. That the speed of change is so crazy that you can't go to college for the job you're going to have 10 years from now because it's going to be reinvented. So as I ask you to look even further out, and let's say like 15, 30 years or within our lifetime, which sci-fi movie do you think is most accurate, and which one would you prefer to have our futures turn in?
So I see us as a little combination of Demolition Man, where Taco Bell is the leading food of choice. We're using three shells, and I have no clue how to use three shells in the bathroom. Um, and we've got some kind of utopia. Now, if we then go also, we're going to have robots. So do I think we're going Terminator and Skylink?
Or
Uh,
her?
or her? I think we're already in her right now. Like
That's what I think. Yeah,
we're
for
we're
sure.
we're already in that level. So I can't even say in 15 years. I think that stuff is already going on now. So maybe it's more mass in the next 2 years. But yeah, I've always believed, and I love sci-fi for this, and we can joke about the Simpsons always predicting the future, but like there's actual elements into people writing these books and going like, all right, I'm a future, I'm thinking about this. All of that stuff will become the present because you've got also someone thinking the same thing. Like, how do we make this happen? How do we
Yeah.
clone? How do we cryo freeze? How do we make life so much easier that it actually becomes complicated? And that's always the case. You solve one thing and two other problems come up, and that's always the kind of what we do as humans. That it all comes back to the human connection. And you look at like these sci-fi movies, like especially her, they all want that human connection. I want a robot that is human, that's like me, whatever it is. Like we all want some kind of human connection. That's literally what we're looking for. So wherever the future takes us, human connection is going to be the only thing that we will continue to see we need.
Yeah, if we look at data from Star Trek too, the AI Android just wants to be human as well. So they're going to be coming at us from the other way. But I think there's probably a wide spectrum of stuff that are possibilities. The other thing you mentioned is, why do we keep trying to make all of these dystopian ones real? Like the Matrix and Terminator 2 were not aspirational movies, but we're making liquid robots, and Zuckerberg's trying to make the Matrix. I don't understand what we're doing. Um, these were not yeah, these were not goals we were setting for humanity with these movies, but we'll
I
figure it out.
believe, I guess if I actually take a moment and actually think about it, the movie that comes to mind right now is Ready Player One. And I truly hope we don't go down that path where we're all living in this virtual. You mean, think about it from a Bitcoin standpoint. It's like, all right, what's currency? They've created its entire caste system and completely changed that. And we're all living in video games. And that's where we're getting our human connection as opposed to the real world. So I truly hope we do not go down a Ready Player One world. But I could see us going down there.
Black Mirror has a very similar episode where they were cycling for credits and stuff, and had the
I love that
reality.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that to me seemed eerily close to something that could happen, and I hope we stay away from that one too. All right, we better stop nerding out and let people know about you and what you have going on. You can connect with Greg Wasserman on LinkedIn. We also had a link for you I'll put in the show notes for castmagic.io/Greg if you want to check out how to turn your media into magic. But Greg, I'll let you speak for yourself here. How can you help us, or how can we help you?
Yeah, like I said, life is about time relationships. So please find me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. Let's have a conversation because you have no clue where these conversations will go. And I can tell you they're usually worthy of our time. And then from there, we'll enjoy each other. We'll be in each other's networks, and it's all about connection from there.
Love it. And if you want to figure out how to build an influencer program with high volume content marketing and repurposing podcasts like this one into a bunch of other content, maybe I can interview your founder, your top salesperson, or your best client and turn that into whatever you need to engage your community. I would love to chat. Go to avenue9.com. Until next time, keep going. Have fun with it, everybody. Bye.